Hi there, Floss Tube. It's Verbena. If you are a returning viewer, welcome back. It is very good to have you here. And if you are a new viewer, welcome, welcome. Hello. My name is Verbena. This is a channel about cross stitch and I imagine occasionally another related craft. I am an omni-crafter, so I can't promise that I won't do other stuff. It has been a long time since I've talked with you. I've had sort of a tumultuous few months. I had a massive computer problem where my graphics card was bad, but no one could diagnose it. Nobody could reproduce it. Finally, with enough Googling about 1 billion different terms involving pink dots, I finally came across a Reddit thread about artifacting and was able to get my computer back in and said it is artifacting. And then they were like, oh, okay, well that means your graphics card's bad. So then that involved sending my graphics card, luckily, which was under warranty. So I had to send my graphics card, thankfully not the whole computer, but just the card, off to the manufacturer, and they did a warranty exchange on it. And all of that took several months to get fixed, diagnosed, in and out of Best Buy, all of that. So, and that is the computer that has my editing software on it that I use for the videos. It is my only PC, and the license that I have for my editing software is for PC, and all the other computers that I have access to around the house are Macs. So rather than rebuy the license, I had to sit and wait. I work in the shipping industry, so holidays go a little nuts for me. And I had some shoulder problems, starting kind of right in the middle of the Christmas season. And it's an old injury. It seemed to flare up, and it was at its worst in February. Better now, diagnosed. I have a labral tear and some cysts. They're not too worried about the cysts and the labral tear. They've got me in physical therapy, and I'm also seeing a massage therapist again, which I used to see a massage therapist, but he moved. It's taken, it takes a while to find a professional that you click with. So I think I finally found someone that we're both happy with each other, and my shoulder is so much better. And that means that I am stitching a lot now. Definitely I've stitched more in the last 3 weeks than I have in the last 4 months. So that makes me happy. And then I had a trip, and for those of you who like to hear about my travels, my other half and I, we went to Idaho in February. For those, I don't know if those of you who are new, I live in Western Washington State in the United States, and I have family in Idaho. I'm sorry, I got a little distracted. A little bunny just tore. I'm facing my front window today, and a little bunny just tore from out the driveway and just shot across the lawn, and nothing's chasing it. So I think it just had somewhere to be. Anyway, my parents live near Idaho Falls, so we went to visit them, and we took it easy. It's like a hard 14-15 hour drive if you do it all in one go. And we just decided this time that we are going to be leisurely. And, after our trip from the RV last year, we're a little more inclined to do things leisurely. So we took 2 days, and we stayed, I can't remember where we stayed on the way out, but Pendleton. We stayed in Pendleton, which is a cool little town that I always get to drive through, and it's either late at night or early in the morning, or there's a monstrous snowstorm. As one year when we went through and the passes were closed, and we took a 5-hour detour and went the back way into Pendleton from Ontario, and there was like 5 feet of snow everywhere. It was atrocious and ridiculous, and but luckily we had the big truck that year and got through it just fine. But I would love, that's where, if you're familiar with Pendleton Wool, that is where the original mill is, and I've always wanted to do the Pendleton Mill tour, but we've just never been there at a time of day where it would be open. We're either we're in too late and out too early to be able to do some touristy things in Pendleton. But one day I will do that. I will go to the Pendleton Wool Mill and visit and shop. We stopped in Caldwell, Idaho, which is an adorable little town. We poked around a little bit there, and there's basically Caldwell and then Nampa and then Boise. So it's like the outer, they've got Boise, the big city, and then you've got Nampa, kind of the suburbs, but pretty darn big. And then you've got Caldwell, which is like the little easy, little town where people can actually have property and things like that. So we did a little poking around just around the downtown area, and then we went to Pocatello and wandered around Pocatello. What, Liz? What? We're filming. Did you see the bunny? My cat. So we went to Pocatello and wandered around a little bit there, and we really like Pocatello. It's a neat little town. If you ever get a chance to go. And then we headed out to up to see my folks. There she goes, like a shark. We spent a couple of days there. We wandered around Idaho Falls a little bit, as we always do. We just kind of take a morning just to putter and drive around and visit the shops. Let me pull up because everything went to sleep. We went to this shop called the Shadow Domain. If you are in that area and you are of a Gothic persuasion, it is a cool little shop. I bought some tea, I bought some bumper stickers, and I bought these pins, which I'm going to make into needle minders. So, you just lop off the backs, glue on the magnets, bam, any pin can be a needle minder. But I love this evil as heck. I think that will make a great little needle minder. So we had a lot of fun wandering around, ate a nice slice of pizza at the pizza shop there. Had a really great visit with my parents. Everywhere I went, I looked for a needlework shop, and Idaho Falls has one listed online, and it has a phone number, and I called it, and there's no answer. And the address, I think the address was like, it kind of looks like a house. And so I thought, well, maybe that one's somebody's home-based business, that because of the business licensing, it ends up listed on Google somehow. So yeah, we headed, and we drove through Lava Hot Springs, which looked so cool. And unfortunately I had forgotten, much to my other half's dismay, I had forgotten my bathing suit. And so we did not get to soak in the Lava Hot Springs, but we got to drive through, and I think our next visit, we were definitely going to go have a soak there. Although my father did say don't go in the summer. It's like crazy packed, but we were there in February and it was chilly and it was a little snowy and everybody was sitting in the hot baths, and all the pools, and they look just fine. So I'm not, definitely up for that in the winter months. As long as they're open, I'm good to go. And I now have, I'm sure my other half will now be like, before we leave the house, it's like, he doesn't care if I have my house keys, but he will care if I have a bathing suit. So we got back and was, just catching up on work, and then I got COVID. So yay. Luckily for me, it was just, I was home long enough that it wasn't travel COVID. I didn't catch it on the road. I was home long enough that it was definitely someone in my community, and it's just going to happen, right? We're, the majority of us, hopefully everyone who has the immune system to be able to tolerate it, we're just going to get it like flu, right? And so, humidifier out, heater on, mattress pad cranked up, and just Tylenol and fluids and get through it just like flu. So there was that. And it took me almost another month to get rid of that dry cough some people get. I was a little froggy, and I'm still every now and then a little froggy, and I just had this dry cough that I couldn't get rid of. And then the doctor said that if I wanted to, if I'd had it for over a month, I could come in and they could get me a steroid series. And I've had steroid series before, and I'm just not, if I can avoid it, I would like to avoid it. So I had gotten the advice from someone that the like Prilosec or Nexium, one of those little purple heartburn medications that you can get at the drugstore. They have a 14-day series pill. Like you get 14 pills in a little bottle, and they're purple and they're tiny, thank goodness. And just take it for 14 days. And apparently whatever is in that medicine that calms down like acid indigestion, reflux stuff, also basically calms down that same system that is making that dry cough. And luckily it worked for me. And just every now and then when there's a serious like change in environment, I kind of get a cough, like just one or two, but I think that's just being human, and I don't think that's a result of the of me being sick anymore. So if you did have a COVID and you do have that dry cough, ask your doctor or someone, your pharmacist or someone you trust, if that might knock it out, if you're steroid adverse. And it worked for me. Maybe it'll work for you or somebody, but it was a good tip and I appreciated it. So that's kind of been me since last August. Last August when I last posted, I had taped a floss tube in September, but footage got garbaged up with all the computer crashes, and I just couldn't recover it, and I couldn't get my computer to actually edit, do anything remotely computery. So I guess that's kind of it for travel and almost for travel. I've got one more travel thing, but we'll get to it when I show one of my finishes. So we'll back up. I can't promise everything's going to be in chronological order. We're just going to do stuff, and then next time I see you, hopefully, in a couple of weeks, maybe sooner, but definitely in a couple of weeks, we will have, I'll have a timeline, but the amount of time that went by from the last floss tube, and also think, honestly, I think COVID makes me a little stupid. I just think that all my synapses aren't connected anymore. I maybe lost a couple brain cells being sick, but I'm just, yeah, I've got some blank spots, and like I couldn't for the life of me. And then if the internet doesn't help me with back me up, then I'm in trouble. But I'm functional, I'm healthy now, and I am not messing up at work. So I think if I can, and I don't have a zombie job. I don't have a job where I can just like bang keyboard, turn off lights, and go home. I have a thinky job. So I'm okay. I'm okay. I'm sorry I worried you. I'm okay. So we're going to go back to last winter, and I had joined the Stitchonomy Stitch Along, a storybook Halloween, and I was super duper excited. It's my very, very first Stitch Along. Yay. And I signed up for it, and I was excited for it, and I ordered the kit from overseas, and then I promptly changed the fabric out because the count was really, really big, and I wanted to do really, really tiny. And so this is a 28 count. I think it's a Charles Craft in a tube from your craft store. Maybe a Fiddler's. No, Fiddler's is always 16, isn't it? So something like maybe a Belfast, maybe. But it's definitely 28 count. I know that. And this moth. Did y'all see this moth? That is, the clock is good. The clock is really good. Cthulhu is adorable, but that little moth that looks like you can't tell if it's just regular moth or if it's like a moth person is wearing like wing cloak and like spitting a forked tongue, like, or a triangle tongue, like to zap. And because, single stitch eyeballs, it like looks like little crosses, almost like it's dead. But I love the moth. I really think that I'm gonna figure out a way to put that moth on something else, because I do love that moth. What I did not love about this Stitch Along is I learned a very important thing about myself. This was an everyday release, and I think maybe I could manage an everyday release if it were something like a long dog, where it was, you're just using a solid color or a variegated, but all the colors each day, it became a chore. So like fun, yay, love, cool, huh, oh cool, yeah, okay, no really, I'm keeping up. Okay, wait, what? How many? And onward until the end of the month. I was just exhausted and stressed out. And as much fun as I had in the beginning, by the end of it, I was posting on Instagram just to keep myself accountable. You will notice that I get to the second to last block and I disappear from Instagram forever. Like the account is there, nothing else is there. There are no posts. I just burnt out. But I didn't want to abandon it because I knew if I abandoned it, I would probably never come back to it. So then the second to last day came, and I came home from work. I dragged through my emails. I found the pattern. I stitched the pattern. I went to bed. I got up the next morning, and I think it was first thing in the morning, maybe a little later in the day, and they said, some people are concerned about the suitability of the motif that we used because it pulls from Native American culture and whether or not it's appropriate or sensitive to use that in this context. Because of course it's appropriate to use Native American mythology in the context of itself. But there was a request for an Luz. You okay? You okay? What's going on? We're still recording. Can you hang on for a little bit longer? Can you not scratch the carpet? Are we going to have to edit this out? Okay, I think we're okay now. So there had been a request for an alternate square. So she came out with the Krampus, and at that point I was honestly so done with this project that I folded everything up and I put it in the basket next to the couch and walked away from it. I finally sat down with it a month ago and picked out the original block, restitched that block, and then I stitched the final Headless Horseman block. So it's done, and I do have a plan for the finishing. I've already started on the finishing for it, and I'm super excited about that. But this is definitely going to be one of those projects where it's going to make a lovely gift. But, you know, right now I just, you know, when you do something that was stressful and it kind of, you got that association. I kind of have that association. So, but I finished it and I think I did okay with it. I didn't do the crosshatch background lines. I thought they were a little busy for my taste. So there is that. And then see what next. Next is pretty much the only it is just haul that I got. I was watching Pam and Steph and Pam, and from Just Keep Stitching. And it was one of Steph's videos of one of the markets. And I had to pause my YouTube and 10-second back, and then I had to close out of my PlayStation because PlayStation isn't nice about backing up, and go to the iPad and pull up the same video. And then because you can double tap left or right to fast forward just by about 10 seconds each way, and I had to tap and find it until I found, just as a sweep, and it wasn't even a new release for that show. They swept by it, and I saw this in the background, the Needles Dance with ink circles. So it is called The Night Forest Wakes as the Needles Dance. And I ordered the pattern, and I ordered a couple of blues, and I settled on the Nordic blue, but I have the threads coming for this. I'm not gonna turn it over on camera again. It calls for Classic Color Works, and there's only 6 colors. So I'm really excited to get started on this one, and the colors will be coming soon, in about a week or so. So next I got to attend the Acorns and Threads. For those of you who are new or don't remember, even though I live in Western Washington, my local needlework store is in Portland, Oregon. Just a little bit over 2 hours away from me. I could go to Issaquah to Threadneedle Street. I haven't been to Threadneedle in, I want to say 15 or 20 years. I'd love to go up and shop with them, but from my location in South Puget Sound to Issaquah is just a nightmare, honestly. It's north through Seattle, or it's a giant swing through kind of the Auburn, Kent area, and then on up. And I haven't been on the road in 15 years, but the last time I was on the road, it's like basically a 2-lane through the countryside, which is beautiful, but you know, it's not just like Portland where you pop on the highway and you barrel down for 2 hours. It's a hike. It's a hike to Issaquah. It takes much longer to get there. And then also, like, when you barrel down to Portland in 2 and some hours, it's like you go to Artisan Craftsman, you go to Craft Warehouse, you hit Acorns and Threads, you go to Wijimaya, the fancy Japanese grocery store that has the Kinokanura bookstore, and you go book shopping. You go to Pendleton Outlet and go to Millens and look at fabric. There's just a lot of things that you can do in Portland and in Issaquah. You know, you either go all the way up to Seattle and do some stuff in Seattle, which there's tons of stuff in Seattle, and then go across to Issaquah, or you can go, but traffic is just a nightmare. And it doesn't seem to matter whether it's a weekday or a weekday morning or weekday afternoon. It's definitely not a weekday afternoon. As soon as everybody starts getting off work around 3 o'clock, it just becomes a wall of traffic. And I know that COVID has lightened that, but it's just like when you spend an hour in a shop shopping and you spend, you know, you just spend 3 hours rolling down a highway going about 25 miles an hour if you're lucky, 30 miles an hour. It just, we're gonna have to find, I told my other half, I didn't want to go to Threadneedle Street. We're just gonna have to, you know, find a day where we just go and do it. But I'm just super happy that Acorns and Threads is right there in Portland. Just Zoom. So I got to go to their Acorn Gathering 2022. So it was early this year, and they had Luhu Stitches come and be the guest designer, and she designed this. Oop, got this. I put it the way my needle minder was. She designed this little squirrel, and we were all on Zoom, nobody in person, except the people in the shop. And Cindy was there, and she answered questions, and she told a story about how she got to start designing. And there were about, I think they said there were 200 of us, all just there on Zoom, which is a very new experience for me, because I don't work in an office. And I had never participated, like I had to download Zoom for this. And I had to play around with it because I wanted to make sure that I knew how to use it. But this is a great little stitch. They provided us with a kit, and it is, let me pull this off so I don't, just in case, nope, we're all good. It is, it's a combination. We've got DMC, we've got Weeks Dye Work, we've got Classic Color Works, and so we've got all the threads, and they gave us this little matching scissor fob, key fob that I put on my thread, on my floss bobbins. Floss bobbins did not come from Acorns and Threads. I will talk about those in a little bit. But I got the squirrel done during retreat. I just sat on my little easy chair in my office and I just cranked. And then if you have tips on how to do things like irregular shapes with these highly variegated. Like most of these flosses are not very variegated, but this yellow is, and I've got there's another one down here that are super like saturated and then not saturated. And I picked this leaf out like 3 times because the first time I did it, I wasn't thinking, and I did, what is it called? The Monet method, where you just go across and back and across and back, and it just looked too stripy for a leaf for me. And so then I did it, and I thought, oh, maybe I can put the dark around the edges and the lights towards the middle, and that didn't work out with the lengths of floss that I had. So I ended up doing, in the end, this is like, I would like go across 2 and then down 2 and then down another 3 and then up a little bit, 2 or 3. And I was just kind of, so you can kind of see it's like, it's not, you know, it's pooled. It's not great. I'm not totally pleased with it, but I'm definitely pleased with being done with it. So if you have tips on like how to directionally cluster your stitches with one of these heavily, I think that is the Weeks. Yeah, it's a Weeks Dye Works. So if you're an experienced Weeks Dye Works stitcher and you know how to, like if there's a formula or a method to make that not be so stark or so pooly, please let me know in the comments. I would so much appreciate it. So yeah, but I've been working on this a little bit lately because I've just been cranking on other stuff. The next thing I have is, so I told you we were in Idaho, and I told you we looked for a needlework place, couldn't find a needlework place. We're headed back into town, or towards town, and we got kind of the Hood River, which is sort of the gateway to when you're headed back west towards Portland. And my other half was like, you know, I really want to go to this store in Portland. And it was Cabela's. I'm always down for a Cabela's trip. And when you add a tax-free, because Portland doesn't have sales tax, add a tax-free trip to Cabela's, I'm there. I'm okay. I can shop at Cabela's. There's plenty of things to look at. But he was nice enough. He said, so, but if we're going to be in Portland, you know, you didn't find a needlework shop the whole trip. Why don't we go to Acorns? And I was super proud of him for even remembering that it had Acorns in the title. But he said, why don't we go to Acorns and you can do a little shopping before we, you know, head out of Dodge. I was like, okay, I'm on board for that. So we headed to Cabela's, and he got some prices on some things that he's been looking at. And we went to Acorns and Threads, and he sat in the car and hung out and just said, take your time, take your time. Don't worry about me. I got emails to read. So I did buy some things. Seems like every time I make it to somewhere that sells them, I buy another Q-snap. And I still don't have enough Q-snaps. So I bought another Q-snap, and I bought sort of impulse, last minute, no plan. Well, I didn't have any plans to buy anything, right? So, but I signed up for Little House Needleworks Fall on the Farm. They had the first 2 there in stock, so I was very late getting started. And then the third one was just about to come out. So they signed me up, took my credit card. And then now they just mail me the chart every month when it comes in. If you didn't know that needlework shops do this, I don't know if all needlework shops do this. If they don't, they should, because it is amazing. They call it, let me pull this up. They call it like choose your own chart. When it gets rung up, choose your own for these chart of the months, and card on file. Bam. You don't have to worry about do I need to order it? When is it going to come? And the other really cool thing about it is that I have, so, you know, I have my Jellies Dance, and I bought the fabric. I did not buy the floss. So I don't know what I was thinking. I think I was thinking, well, I don't know what floss, you know, I didn't look and see what floss it was. I think I was also thinking, well, you're already over $100 on this order because there was several pieces of, you know, a couple pieces of fabric, and the pattern may or may not have been a Q-snap. I'm not sure. And so I didn't get the floss. But I was able to just email Acorns and Threads and say, hey, do you have these threads in stock? And if so, can you just throw them on my auto ship order when my Fall on the Farm comes in? And they emailed back and they were like, well, yeah, of course I could do that. And for someone who has to drive 2 and a little bit of hours to go to their local needlework store, oh my God. It's so nice. It's just so nice. So the one thing is that because this has been such a popular pattern, they didn't have all the threads in stock. That's what it was. When I ordered this, I got the remaining threads for Fall on the Farm. That's what happened. That's why I didn't order the threads for Jellies, because Fall on the Farm threads were in there, and that was plenty for that purchase day. So because I didn't have the threads with me, I didn't have all of them. Critically, I did not have bamboo. So when I came home and I tossed my stash of fabric, and I'm looking at this picture and I'm thinking, yeah, I think that'll do. And I didn't, of course, look up on a website that would compare this fabric, which is 25 count potato, Lugana. I didn't compare it online to say, I think if I had done that, I would have realized that the called for fabric is a lot darker than this one. So I'm stitching this on 1/1, my favorite, on 25 count potato, Lugana. But when the bamboo finally came in from 1, 2, 3 cross stitch, where I got the jellies, and I started stitching it, and you can see there's supposed to be these supports for the farm stand, and they are so white. They are so white. And the picket fence also so white. The house looks fine because it's got a border. The clouds are a little, they're there. They're clouds, you know, cloudy. And I've been debating what I want to do about that. On this one, I pulled a DMC that is just a little darker. See, like the snow crow's sign? It's supposed to be a white sign. And all you see is like, you see a hanger and you see thread, you know, just words floating in the middle of nowhere. So I think what I might do, rather than pick it out and redo it, I think when everything is done, I may take some little like taupe or a sandy brown sewing thread and just backstitch next to it so it looks like a little shadow. I'll do a little test of it on a scrap in the corner and see how it looks, and maybe that will pop it out. If that pops it out, then I will just go through and I will do like, I'll outline the no crows, and I'll, you know, do a little line beside each of the farm stand supports, and then like make kind of a little shadow in the fences, and then I won't have to redo it. And see, you can't even see the chickens. There's no little chicken, you know, they've got little combs. I guess they're all roosters because, no, they're hens. But you can see their little, you know, their little red bits, and you can see kind of there's a beak, but there's no chicken body. So I may redo the chickens with a different color. Make sure they're chickeny. Maybe a soft yellow. Maybe even when I'm done with everything and I can kind of see what's left of that marigold weeks, take some of the brighter color and make them yellow chickens. So I'll wait till I'm all done and then I'll do some tests on that because, my mother grew up on an apple farm in Ohio, and she has been anxiously watching me finish each block. I send her pictures when I finish, and she seems to love it. She seems to love it, which is good because she loves it. Then this is going to be her Christmas present, and she does not. I think I've told her that Floss Tube exists. She used to be a weaver back in the day. She likes to weave and read romance novels, or not romance novels. She likes to read all sorts of novels. But when I was little, it seemed like she was always reading romance novels. Now she reads like Clancy and mysteries and all sorts of paperback novels. But if it's in a paperback, it's in her hand. So that's her primary hobby now, is reading and doing jigsaw puzzles. So she's got no interest in Floss Tube. So I am totally safe saying it's going to be, I'll get it framed and then it'll be her Christmas present this year. So, but I'm excited. I'm all caught up. I think the next pattern's coming out, or it's going to be in my mailbox in the next couple of days, I think. And then I will just scooch along if it follows suit, it's the middle, it's going to be a quilt block, which I'm excited. It's a lot of, not, done all these little tiny things of switching. It's going to be more solid stitching. So it should be super easy to get through. And it's the most sort of substantial seeming anchory block. So, and then I might eventually trim off all this extra fabric. But until I get this square done, until square 7, I don't want to trim anything. So right now I'm just kind of dragging all this stuff around. But Fall on the Farm, I know a lot of us are doing it. If you are working on Fall on the Farm, let me know. And scoop me a link to your Instagram or your Floss Tube so I can look at yours, because I know some people have changed the colors on it, and I'd like to see that. But I like seeing all the different fabrics with the same threads as well. So then we had one more trip. A couple weeks ago, we went to, because I mentioned I'd forgotten my bathing suit for Lava Hot Springs in Idaho. I felt awful, so when we got back, I booked us just an overnight stay at Salduck. Salduck is a hot spring. It's not really a resort. I wouldn't call it a resort, but it's in the Olympic National Forest, and so it's run by the Park Service. There is a lodge with a gift shop and a restaurant. And there are 3, 1 warm, 2 hot soaking pools, 105 degrees or a little more. And then there is a ambient temperature swimming pool. So when we went, we stayed in one of the they have cabins in a campground, an RV place. And we stayed in one of the little cabins, which recently remodeled, and very adorable inside, comfy beds, hot showers, which, sometimes when you stay at a cabin, you don't always get warm showers. And then the hot springs, no TV, no Wi-Fi. So it is an unplugged week, your stay is unplugged. And the restaurant's fine. It's a long way for food if you leave the park. So either if you decide to go, pack food, or just be prepared to eat you know, the Park Service restaurant food. But we had a lovely soak. They open up the pools early in the morning, and they do hour-and-a-half time slots, and then they have 30 minutes where they tell everybody to get out, and then 30 minutes later they open it back up. If you're staying, you get like a little gold holographic wristband, and you can soak as many times as you want during your stay. So we got there, we did a leisurely drive up, and started out kind of mid-morning and just tootled, and we stopped in Port Angeles. So I wanted, because we were just going to be gone overnight and we were flipping off drivers through the trip, I wanted to make sure I had something simple, and I had purchased the Bent Creek Narwhal Globe Kit. It is 18 count pearl cotton. It is on a linen that is supersized. It is like, the sizing in it makes it amazingly crisp. It's like, fold it and it wants to stay in the fold crisp. But I stitched some of it. I got it started the night before we left, so I wouldn't have to worry about a start. And I stitched it in the car on the way up when I was not driving. And I stitched a little bit in the evening in the room. And then I stitched in the car on the way home. And I finished it. I put the beads on when I got home that night, and I love it so much. It was super quick. It was super easy. There aren't so many beads that you go, oh my God, beads. There's like the two little whale eyeballs. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 snowflake. And then it came with some silver, which said put the beads on with the silver and also highlight the narwhal horn. So if you have a new little stitcher or someone who is new to stitching, and you don't want to get them, one of those DMC kits, you want them to have, maybe something a little more out of the ordinary, pick them up one of these Bent Creek kits, because it was super enjoyable and super adorable. The one advice that I have is I wasn't sure how generous they were with the threads. So I went ahead, and the needle that I took on my trip, the eye was not quite large enough, so I kind of had to force the pearl cotton through the eye, and it stripped out some of the sheen. And if you look really closely, you can kind of see, like right here, there's a difference, and it flattened out. And I went ahead and I did the end, the end of this row, because it's like 10 inches of pearl cotton left, but it was, kind of ugly, flattened out, and the sheen was stripped off of it, because I was worried that there wouldn't be enough. And probably what I should have done is just left, started a new one and just held on to it just in case. But Bent Creek is super generous. There was this is what's left. So I definitely could have not done, cut that off and used. But you can kind of see where if the eye of your needle is too small, it's kind of strips the twist out. So definitely make sure you have a needle that is large enough for the pearl cotton to go through. I would have changed it out, but I was on the road. So it was either not do the only project that I took with me, or, and again, I did not get these little floss bobbins from Bent Creek, and I will talk to you about those pretty soon. I have one more. So this is a finish, and I'm hoping it will be an FFO very soon. So when I finished the narwhal, and I've been kind of picking out my Acorns and Threads retreat, I was thinking, okay, I should get back. I wonder how long that's been up. I had a low battery. Okay, so I was thinking I should get back to, after I finished the narwhal, I was thinking I should get back to the Witchy Stitcher Cryptid Stitch Along. And I have a little difficulty going from that 2/2 on the Acorns Retreat project and then going back to 1/1 on, I'm pretty sure this is 32 count. So it's kind of like, it's just been hard going back and forth between the two. And I remembered that the Witchy Stitcher, who is the designer of the cryptid, she had a birthday of her business, and so she released a free pattern that is this beautiful, beautiful little cake. So I tossed some Charles Craft in a tube, 28 count white in a Rit dye bath. I do love this. I hope, these are some cool motifs, and the colors are like just perfect. They're just perfect. What I want to do, in all my copious amounts of spare time, what I want to do is get black fabric and just stitch the motifs and stitch them maybe 4 across, and then put them around tubes and actually make a 3-dimensional cake out of them. Fingers crossed. It's like, I want to do that before spooky season this year. So, but I just cranked on this. I did it in like, I want to say 2 or 3 days. It was such a joy to stitch. It was so fun. I want to do it again. So there's that. I really only have one other thing I've got a couple other things to talk about. I got into StitchCon. We'll be there on weekend A of StitchCon, and I am super excited. Super duper excited. And I can't wait to meet you guys. And I also just paid my deposit on the Acorns and Threads next retreat in September, and that is in Portland. I think they said it's the Embassy Suites Hotel. They are doing one on Zoom again, but they are also they're doing it in person, and I signed up for the in-person. So hopefully those of you who are West Coasty stitchers like me who can't get back east for one of the other retreats will be able to go to that one, and maybe I will meet some of you there. So that's my future travel. So excited. Future travel without my other half. Get to meet my stitchy peoples. So the other thing I have is that another thing that happened to me in the fall is last summer I bought a laser cutter, and it was a big purchase. I had just so many ideas, and every time both stitchy ideas and not stitchy ideas, and every time in the end it's like, well, I can't do that because I need all these woodworking tools or all these things. And then every time one of my clients that I work with they'd say, well, what's your latest idea? And I would tell them, and they would say, oh, but you could just do that on a laser. And be like, well, great, So I finally had enough things where I thought, I'm going to buy a laser. I did not go with the Glowforge, but I went with I bought a Make Block laser box, and it looks a lot like the Glowforge. Everybody's familiar with the Glowforge, but it has its own software, so it's not reliant on, if Make Block goes out of business tomorrow, I can still run my laser as long as I can find somebody to repair it in the future. Unlike Glowforge, where if Glowforge is kind of like, they have their own software, and so you have to use their online interface. But for this one, you can just plug your computer right into it, like one of the big boy lasers. So you saw them earlier, I made these little floss drops that are acorns to match my acorn stitching, and inspired by my little narwhal, I made these little whales. I have just made these little whales in acrylic, and at the end of April, oh boy, I'm bad at this, bad at the camera. I think because I'm over the board, you can see. But I made these little whales and little cutouts, and it comes out like they're little spouts. And I've got some other designs. I'm working, so the laser broke and I had to send it to California. And let's see, let's put that back up so you're not bored. But I had to send it back, and they basically, it went FedEx on a pallet to California, and they had it for a couple of weeks, and then it got repaired and it got sent back, and then it came back right as the holiday season was cranking up. So I have been hard at work the last month putting up a Shopify site. I made the decision not to go with Etsy. I may change that decision later. I can always open up an Etsy shop later, but I thought rather than open up an Etsy shop and then move to a shop, move to my own website, I would maybe do it the reverse way, is start with my own website. And if it doesn't work, then just, but hopefully it will work out. So, I will have, at the end of my floss tubes, I will have some product announcements. But I will announce them so that way, if you don't want to hear them, you can just turn off and move on with your day and on to your next floss tube. But if you are interested in seeing what I am up to, but I will try not to bore you if you're not interested with about my businessy things. So I will make sure that I am stopping and letting you know. I should probably put a little paper up that says Shop Talk, and I will probably have pictures of things. I should have things. I'm going to have the same Instagram account, my Strange Stitches, or my Verbena and Stitches. I'll have to see what my Instagram is. So thank you for sticking around for so long. It turned out to be pretty long, much longer than I thought it would be. And thank you for coming back. If you are a returning viewer, I really appreciate it, especially after that long gap. If you're new, thank you for staying around to the end. And I'll see you soon, much sooner than last time. I promise.